All right, guys, here we are in the third round of the NBA playoffs, which means we are in the conference finals. And to be honest with you guys, it is kind of bittersweet. You know, the bitter part is at one point we was getting like 3 to 4 playoff games per night. Now we're just down to 4 teams, 1 game per night. And the sweet part of it is we're getting super close to the NBA finals, and we'll see a couple high-profile guys in the NBA win their first championship, and it's looking like it's going to be guys like Luka Doncic, Jason Tatum, or Jaylen Brown, as the Boston Celtics and the Dallas Mavericks. They're on a collision course to meet in the NBA Finals. They are both respectively up 3-0 in their conference finals matchups. But today I want to talk about the Dallas Mavericks and the Minnesota Timberwolves. And I think the way that we've seen the Minnesota Timberwolves play defense in the first 2 rounds against the teams and the talent that they were playing defense against. First round, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and the Phoenix Suns, Jaden McDaniels. He did a real number on Devin Booker, really locked him up for majority of those games. I know D-Book got off in a very desperate fashion in that last game, and that kind of raised our antennas. And then we seen him move on to the move on to the Denver Nuggets in the second round. And we knew it was going to be a little bit of a different challenge for their defense, because the Denver Nuggets are a completely different offense than the Phoenix Suns. So we seen them play against a more motion-heavy offense rather than the ISO, and they did another demolition job on the defensive side of the ball. I believe every game that the Minnesota Timberwolves, they can only win if they held the Denver Nuggets under 100 points. So another outstanding job by their defense. So as I'm watching these 2 series, and this was before I knew who was going to get to this third round of the playoffs, if it was going to be OKC or the Dallas Mavericks. And I was just hoping, like, man, I really hope that Dallas moves on past OKC, because I would love to see how 2 players like Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving would break down this defense. Because what we saw from the Minnesota Timberwolves is that they locked up the ISO style of offense by high caliber ISO scores. They locked up the Denver Nuggets, given the type of style that they play, a lot of more ball movement. Also, they can do isolation at times with Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray, but nonetheless, definitely more of a heavy motion offense. And they did 2 demolition jobs against those teams. And I was like, man, I hope we get the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Dallas Mavericks in the conference finals, because I just want to see the way 2 nuclear weapons like Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic would attack this defense. And my basketball prayers were answered, because that's exactly the matchup that we got in the conference finals. And I will be a man, and I will admit, as I was making those videos telling people what I wanted to see in the conference finals, I was saying I don't see how Luka and Kyrie is going to break down this type of defense that the Minnesota Timberwolves are playing with Jaden McDaniels and Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Anthony Edwards, Mike Conley, these guys out on the perimeter, and they was defending at such a high level. I know you've seen the one game when Jamal Murray could barely get the ball up half court because of the way that Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Jaden McDaniels was harassing him. They had Jamal Murray throwing heating pass out onto the floor, but that was my mistake right there. I had to realize that Jamal Murray, he's not Kyrie Irving, and he's damn sure not Luka Doncic, because Luka Doncic has been amazing in this series against the Minnesota Timberwolves. He's been something better than amazing. I'm not sure if there's an adjective that's better than amazing, but if there is, that's exactly what Luka Doncic has been in this series so far. So with Luka, the way he's been performing this series, it really puts that basketball saying into perspective when they say sometimes you play great defense, but it's better offense. I feel like that's what we've been seeing from Luka Doncic in this series, because like we said, this is the #1 scorer in the NBA. I believe Luka almost averaged 35 points per game. And what's so crazy here about Luka Doncic is that he's playing with an entire sore lower body. And I don't know if you guys have ever played like a WWE game, but when they show the little body down there, Luka, his whole lower body would be red because he's dealing with some nagging injuries down there. And you can really see it. Luka isn't moving the same. If we go back and look like before the All-Star break or right in the middle of the season, Luka Doncic was moving at an entire different speed than we've been seeing in his last few playoff games. But nonetheless, that has not been able to stop Luka Doncic from playing extremely well against the Minnesota Timberwolves defense. The same defense that we saw lock up Devin Booker, make things really tough on Kevin Durant and the Phoenix Suns. We also seen them were literally in their in the 4 wins that they got against the Denver Nuggets. Each and every time the defense showed up and showed out as they held the Denver Nuggets. Jokic, one of the best offensive players in NBA history, held his squad under 100 points. So this is an outstanding defensive unit, and I'm saying this to really put into perspective of how insane Luka Doncic is playing right now. And the Minnesota Timberwolves, they have a great collective group of defensive guys, but they also have probably the best perimeter defender in the league right now. I think it's a toss-up between him and Herb Jones, but Jaden McDaniels, he looks like he's 6'10". I know they probably got him listed at like 6'8", 6'9", and then he has an crazy wingspan. And I don't know his wingspan off the back of my mind, but you can see it in his arms and legs that his arms are in extremely long. So this is probably the prototypical defender that you would want on Luka Doncic, a very tall defender, someone with length and someone with some athleticism. And Jaden McDaniels, he has a little bit of strength on his side, but it's just something about Luka Doncic is that you really can't do anything with him but just hope that he misses the shot that he takes. And then my favorite thing about Luka, and you've only seen a handful, or at least in my lifetime of watching basketball, I've only seen a handful of players like this that you can't really, no matter how intense you guard them, no matter how much ball pressure, no matter where you picking them up from in the backcourt, you just really can't change up their pace, and you can't really change up their calmness. And that's guys like Luka falls into that category. I've seen it from Chris Paul, I've seen it from LeBron James, and these are just guys that just have total control over the game, over the pace, and I see that from Luka Doncic. So that's my main thing. He just never looks uncomfortable. Whenever he gets downhill, whenever he's getting into the paint, he's so patient with whether he's gonna throw a lob, whether he's gonna throw a regular drop-off pass to the big, if he's gonna shoot his floater, if he's gonna punk fake, go for the foul call. It's just so many things that Luka Doncic can do, and he just seems like he has a counter for everything. And then he's already had some iconic moments in 2 out of the 3 games in this series, in my opinion. The first game, him and Kyrie Irving had some iconic moments. We know what Ant-Man said at the end of the Game 7 against the Denver Nuggets, that his matchup was going to be Kyrie. So Kyrie comes out and drops 24 points in the first half. Luka was relatively quiet in the first half, and then in the second half, it was Luka Doncic's turn, and he dropped 15 points in the fourth quarter to close out the Minnesota Timberwolves. And then we look at game 2, and this is all in Minnesota, by the way. Luka, at the end of the game, he's down 2. He has an opportunity to win it. When he hits this shot, it's 3 seconds left on the game clock, so I count it as a game winner. But very simple basketball. He calls for the screen with the man who has Gobert guarding them, the Minnesota Timberwolves. They mistakenly switched Gobert onto Luka, and then after that, it was history. And everybody knew that step back. It seemed like everybody knew that step back 3 was coming, except for Rudy Gobert. But nonetheless, Luka has been outstanding. And at this point of the playoffs, and if you're watching it, Jason Kidd isn't drawing up no special plays for Luka. This is just Luka and Kyrie going to work. They're operating the pick and roll. They're attacking so quickly, and they're just keeping this Minnesota Timberwolves defense off balance. So I have to give huge props out to Luka Doncic. Whenever I get a chance to talk about his game, I love to, because I feel like his game is great on so many different levels, and this is on the offensive side of the ball, but each and every aspect, from the scoring, the three-point shooting, the mid-range shot, the post scoring, the playmaking, you can take a deep look into all those aspects of Luka Doncic's game, because he is that special, and he's just 25 years of age. But that's what I want to talk about with you guys. I think we were blessed to see the #1 defense go up against the league's leading scorer, and Luka Doncic, on a bum lower body, has been able to get in the series averaging 32 points per game to go along. to go along with 9 assists and 8 rebounds. So shout out to him. Kyrie Irving has been big time too. Kyrie Irving is so fun to watch, man. It was like in the fourth quarter, I believe they were down by like 2 or 3. It's probably like 8 minutes left. Kyrie got the ball in transition. He just stops and pull up for a 3, man. Like, it's probably only him and Stephen Curry are really doing that in transition. Damian Lillard, it's not that many guys that are doing that, man. It's so tough, but it's been really fun to watch. I know this series is 3-0, but it's been a really fun series to watch. They've all been tightly contested up into the very end, so it's been some great basketball if you're a basketball fan. But that's going to be it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed, please leave a like, comment down below how you feel about today's video, and then subscribe for more weekly content. We do this all the time, man, and that's curtains.